Hi everybody, and welcome to this episode of Punching Through, where we are chatting with women leaders who have blazed a trail and are an absolute inspiration. I'm Emma Lindley, MD here at Caf, and I'm here with Nicole Rowe, who is Chief Marketing Officer at iProov. Thanks for joining us, Nicole.
Emma, thanks for having me. I'm super excited about Punching Through and look forward to looking at the different episodes that you have as they're released.
Awesome. So, you and I have known each other for a little while now, and I'm a huge admirer of yours. You've had a stellar career in identity. You've been at companies like Let's Set Setter, you've been at RSA. Talk me through the moment that you felt was the pivotal moment in your career that propelled you into a leadership role.
I think it's a great question, and I think it's honestly very difficult to answer that anything is a single moment that brings you into a leadership position, because I think it's something that evolves as a passion, and it's a desire to make an impact. And that desire to make an impact is formed over a series of different experiences. And I think for me, really wanting to be in a leadership role and putting in place the different motions that brought me to a leadership was looking at how could I make an impact? How could I make an impact in my field? How could I make an impact in my organization? How could I make an impact that really me as an individual would feel represented the type of achievements that I wanted to have in my career? And I think that really for me, the starting point to that was having a great manager early on in my career. And I remember one day going to my manager and saying, I think we can do this better. I think that there's an opportunity for improving outcomes on this project. And I just don't know why we're not doing it this way. And he said to me, you know what? I think you're right. Go away, come back with how you do it, and let's make it happen. And by the way, it has to happen today. So it really was a pivotal moment for me of really being able to articulate a business case for how to improve an outcome, being given an unrealistically short period of time to gather up my thoughts and put them into action and then deploy that. And within that day, by the end of the day, my manager walked into my cube with a dozen long stem white roses and a card that said it was a joy working with such a professional. And I felt like I had maybe not made it into the leadership ranks from a reporting perspective, from a personnel perspective, but for the quality of the contribution and the recognition of the contribution. And that moment really has stood with me, and how I also mentor other individuals, how I give other people, at different junctures in their career, that opportunity to break through and replicate that and pay it forward in my career.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, isn't it? Because, I've had those moments where, you kind of go, I think we need to do something about this. And then they kind of go, okay, well, you can now go and do something about it. And, you have that moment in your head where you go, oh, crap, I'm not sure I can do this. I'm not, am I really the right person? But, I think it's just, you have to lean into it and you have to go, I'm going to do this. I've seen the issue, I think I can solve it. I'm going to lean into it. And when you've got that kind of backing, somebody who's going, I've got your back, I'm going to support you while you do those things. It's extremely empowering. And I agree with you. That is one of the ways I think we should kind of mentor people, just is really give them that support to allow them to step into those roles. Because I think, this is true of, lots of young people, but very much women. We don't necessarily, think that we can do it. We'll think of all the reasons why we may not be able to do it, even though we're perfectly capable of being able to do a particular thing or step into a leadership role. I kind of remember a time when, I was asked to step into a leadership role, and I can remember thinking, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that, but I think that when you think it's thinking about like being out of your comfort zone. And I always say to people, like, all the good stuff happens outside of your comfort zone. It's never inside your comfort zone the good stuff happens. It's those moments where you go, okay, yeah, and then you have to dig deep and go, I can do this. It's going to be okay, and I love your story, and I love the fact you got roses for it.
Yeah, no, it was just a sweet touch, on top of it, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I think that at times we as women do play our cards a little bit more conservatively, that we have a bigger risk of failure, and what that means to us personally. And, some risks we take are going to work out really well, and we're going to succeed. And at times we'll take risks and they will fail. And that has to be okay. It has to be okay in the environment we're in, and it has to be okay with our own perception of our personal worth, that if we take a risk and it doesn't pan out quite the way we had hoped, that we're able to regroup, learn from the mistake, pivot quickly. And as they say, I'm not always a big fan of all the different expressions in the corporate world, but fail fast. Realize if something's just not working out as you'd hope, stop, pause, regroup, and reconsider, and then redeploy.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree with that. And then, like, when you think about kind of like the specific skills and experiences or qualities that you believe, like, in the industry that perhaps we're in, that we're in a tech industry, we're in the identity industry, what do you think are the most instrumental in terms of driving solutions and leading change within the organizations and the industry?
I think that it's a soft skill, and it really follows on from the discussion about taking risks. It's not to underestimate the impact that you can have in an organization, despite what you may perceive your role to be. And I think that there's a great focus in the industry right now on having STEM-based educations, having STEM-based experience. And I think as an industry, we have to open up the aperture and embrace people with different backgrounds and in different skill sets from different areas, and use some of the knowledge and the experiences that they bring from maybe non-traditional backgrounds to solve the problems that we have in our industry. And I think we can't restrict ourselves to believing that if you're not in a technical role, if you're not in a specific leadership role, that your ability to drive impact is shortchanged. And I'll share a short anecdote. Years ago, in a marketing role, I developed a contest. And it was a contest that we provided our software at this particular company out for free, an education version. We wanted to demonstrate how easy it was to use, how powerful the software could be, even in unexperienced hands. And in the end, the gentleman who won the contest had designed safety shields that could be applied to helmets. And this was really a design that revolutionized some of the helmet design for the military, because they were actually able to save people's lives with these new safety shields. It was an inexpensive ad. It was something that could be retrofitted to existing helmets. And this particular gentleman was in the military. He had seen a number of his comrades, die or get grievously injured by different types of explosions. And he just wanted to keep people safe. And a little marketing program, for a contest about raising awareness on how easy something to do from a technology perspective would be, actually ended up leading to innovations that saved people's lives. So I would encourage women and anyone else who might be feeling that their role isn't in the line of fire in really having the ability to drive impact, to reconsider and to think through and creatively assess, how you are driving change, how you can really drive impact, and don't think that if you don't have specific skills that align with a specific type of role, that you don't have the ability to drive that impact that could be life-changing for someone.
Yeah, I really agree with that. And, particularly in the identity industry, because when we think about identity, it's about humans, right? I mean, it is about technology, but actually it's about humans. And, I kind of think about it in, we're designing systems for people. And if they don't know how to use them or they don't understand them, it doesn't matter how fancy or amazing the technology is. If we can't get them into the hands of people and they don't know how to use them, then they're not going to get used. So, when I think about some of the people, that I've come across in the identity industry, some of them are, they've been anthropologists, which makes sense because they're studying humans. That makes total sense. They've come from perhaps data privacy backgrounds, again, really important for our industry, and they haven't come from those kind of historical, perhaps just the technology side of things. Women are really underrepresented in our industry and in the technology side of things. And as we get more women into the industry, I think that's going to change. But marketing is so important. Again, if people don't know, understand how to buy these solutions or how are they going to use them, that it's not going to work. And user experience design, that's another important thing for our industry. So I think to your point, there's loads of areas that, you can use skills in this industry, that may not be technology skills that have just as much impact as building the technology itself, and I've seen technology builds, and then they fail to get them to market because people haven't understood them properly because the marketing hasn't been great, right? Because it's just been lots of technology people in that business, right?
It's a super important point, because as we're developing new technologies, there's a massive amount of education that has to happen that really helps bring the buyers, the organizations that would utilize those technologies. It's so important to help them understand how these technologies can be utilized, how they can help solve certain problems or challenges, or help organizations really optimize their opportunities, for growth. And that concept around sharing insights, sharing best practices, and educating the industry. One of the things that I find particularly surprising in cybersecurity and the identity industry in particular is that our adversaries are so good at collaborating on best practices. Our adversaries have the whole dark web where they're sharing attack methodologies, they're sharing technology secrets, they're sharing actual technologies. Crime as a service has grown exponentially, really upskilling what would be moderately skilled threat actors through the inexpensive availability of generative AI tools. So as an industry, we have to learn to collaborate better, and we have to learn to share those best practices. We have to take risks in technology adoption because our adversaries are, and they're actually doing a much more efficient and expeditious job at it than we are.
100%. And we've got to use all of the capabilities and skill sets that we've got, having diverse teams. To your point of that guy that won that, that award, getting people to come at things from a completely different angle, and thinking through some of these problems in a way that perhaps, we haven't thought through them before. So it's important to have that diversity of people in our businesses and thought in our businesses to make our products better and deal with the threat actors that we're dealing with today, that are changing all the time. I just want to flip and just talk, I've got a question just around talent, because, I work with some amazing, young people in our business. I think the average age of people at Caf is sort of like in their 20s, right? So I'm old enough to be a lot of their mums, unfortunately for me. But we've just got some amazing people, some amazing talent, some amazing women. How do you do that at iProov? Like, how do you kind of like encourage the talent, and how do you kind of like mentor people through that journey?
It's a great question. And, I think that it starts with when you start recruiting. and looking at how you recruit people, what things you're asking for, what things you're prioritizing in candidates, in ensuring that the candidates you're bringing in are diverse, and really ensuring that those recs are written in a way that appeal to a diverse group of candidates. And I think looking at problem solving skills, looking at passion. And one of the things that I've really focused on over my career is you can teach people a lot of things. You can teach them knowledge. You can teach them how to manage a process. You can even teach emotional intelligence, which is an important one, but you can't teach passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think looking for people who have that passion, who have that inner drive to contribute, to excel, to have impact, and marry that with great intellectual capabilities and potential. And then you can really start taking people, from diverse backgrounds and applying them to new problems. And the great thing about that is the outcomes are going to be different. You're not going to get the same people thinking about the problems in the same way who are maybe missing, some, obvious and impactful solutions that just aren't coming, given the similarity of the experiences and the individuals who are trying to solve them. So I think it starts right at recruiting, to be honest with you.
Yeah, totally agree. And, that sort of like humble, hardworking, right kind of attitude, like to your point, the minute you've got that, you've got great grounding to then teach them all of the things, about digital identity. It's just it's a subject matter they would need to learn, but they can learn it quickly if they've got all that kind of baseline. I 100% agree with you. So Nicole, thank you so much for coming on to Punching Through. Thanks for spending some time with me and sharing some of your insights. And and thank you very much for everyone listening.
My pleasure. Thank you, and look forward to additional episodes.